The metric system. Something that we fear. Something that we refuse to use. Why? You tell me. You tell me. Alright, today we are reacting to a video called Is the Metric System Actually Better? Probably. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know why we don't use the metric system. Literally, the rest of the world does. Actually, I think there's like maybe one country, maybe it's like a part of a country that doesn't use the metric system. I don't know which one it is, but they're probably going to tell us in this video. They're probably going to tell us. You know, I think it's weird that sometimes we do use like meters and stuff. Like, so I know how big a meter is, and I know roughly how big a kilometer is, because sometimes people use kilometers here, but like, and you know, I think everything with the metric system is like, it's probably better because like, isn't it like in multiples of tens or something? I don't know, but like here we have like a foot, which is 12 inches, and then you have 2.5 something centimeters in an inch. I don't know. But I mean, it would be kind of hard to change now, you know? I don't think that's probably gonna happen anytime soon, but let's get into the video.
This episode of Real Engineering is brought to you by Brilliant, a problem-solving website that teaches you to think like an engineer.
Oh, I will never
The
think
time
like an engineer.
has finally arrived. The comment section demanding imperial and metric units has gone on too long. There can only be one measurement system. The British imperial system, like everything British, is based on antiquated units of measurement, like measuring your country's importance by counting the number of countries you have invaded and pillaged. A measurement that made sense 100 years ago, but it's time to move on. Weirdly, the British have mostly moved on from this method of measurement, and it is instead Americans who insist on holding onto it. Well, America, Liberia, and Myanmar, a prestigious
See?
trio.
I said it wasn't just Americans.
Now, I can already hear the people who refuse to wear masks in the comments. There are two kinds of countries, those that use the metric system and those that landed on the moon. You know who led the design team for the Saturn V? This guy. Listen to that deep Alabama accent.
This weight dictates the amount of fuel and the numbers of motors.
An American through and through. Ignore this photo of him. Those are just some German friends he made while on gap year in Europe. Look at all his friends. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8... 9 friends. A popular man. This Alabama native used metric. In fact, he despised British units. So much so that he designed a rocket during his gap year to fly to England to show them how great the metric system was. The Saturn V was designed, like nearly everything in NASA at the time, with a mixture of both metric and imperial units. Just read the mission reports for Apollo 11 for proof of this. It switches between inches and centimeters constantly. It's a mess. Anyone working with this report would have had to be hyper aware of what
I was just gonna say that would that would absolutely suck.
Unit of measurement they were using. Most of the design and science work was done in metric before being converted to imperial for the manufacturing and operational staff. One of the most mind-boggling examples of this is the guidance computer. It was coded in
Look at those dinosaurs of computers. Holy crap.
metric. Meters and kilograms are the language of science. But to ensure the astronauts could intuitively understand what those calculations meant, the displays inside the lunar
He's eating a hot dog in space with no bun?
module had to be displayed in British imperial units. So, even back then, when computer power was extremely limited, the engineers had to waste precious computational time and power to conversion.
Why not just not do that? Just pick one. Just pick one. Okay, they both work. Just pick one.
This isn't just a waste of computation power. Errors in conversion have led to an insane number of accidents through the years, some of the most notable being in NASA. In December 1998, the Mars Climate Orbiter took off from Cape Canaveral, Delta II rocket. Over the course of its 9.5-month journey, the orbiter needed to complete trajectory correction maneuvers to bring it into an optimal orbit insertion altitude of 226 kilometers. However, as the time grew closer, calculations showed that the orbiter was entering Mars orbit in a far lower altitude, so low that it was likely going to strike the atmosphere and violently tear itself apart. This...
No bueno. I'm not good at science. You're not surprised, but I don't think that's good.
is exactly what happened. So, what went wrong? The
Well, I'm gonna guess because of the metric system and imperial system problem, because that's literally what this video is about.
orbiter was coded with metric units, so the thruster control unit was working with the metric unit for impulse, Newton seconds. But the controller was being supplied with pound force seconds, which differs by a conversion factor.
I'm gonna guess someone got fired. Someone definitely got fired.
Of 4.45, a massive discrepancy. A discrepancy that destroyed a $328 million project. In 1983,
Happens.
an Air Canada flight departing from Montreal ran out of fuel halfway to its destination in Edmonton. Why? The ground crew knew 22,500 kilograms of fuel was needed for the flight. They, however, needed to calculate how many liters were needed to be pumped. So, they used the density ratio to convert the weight measurement to a volume measurement, but they used the 1.77 density ratio, which was pounds per liter, instead of the correct ratio of 0.8 kilograms per liter, resulting in less than half the
That's not good.
required fuel load being pumped aboard. Luckily, the pilot managed to glide the
Look
plane
at the
down
tire.
to an abandoned airfield, but that little boo-boo of a conversion error could have resulted in a catastrophic loss of life. These are two cautionary tales
Did they all
with
survive?
disastrous consequences, but it tells you nothing of the silent screams into the void every engineer in the world lets out when they are forced to work with both units. It's just an unnecessary pain in the ass we could all do without. This is the reason we need to choose one measurement system.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get on board with the metric system because I mean, like, obviously most countries use the metric system, so it would be harder for everyone else to have to change their system. But
Mixing units not only is tempting fate with conversion errors, but it costs an untold number of hours for scientists and engineers around the world banging their head against tables.
don't do that.
When they could be using that time for something more
I think that guy needs to talk to someone. He seems to be having a hard time.
productive. I could end the video there, but we need to really hammer home why metric units are the superior units. So why is it better? Well, let's start with the fundamental unit of measurement.
10.
There are 7 base units of measurement, and with these 7, we can measure everything in the universe. Think of them like the 3 primary colors of light. With these
Are those the primary colors of light? I thought that the regular primary colors were red, yellow, and blue.
3 colors, we can create any color in the universe by mixing them in just the correct proportions. We can do the same with these fundamental units of measurement. They are time, length, mass, temperature, electric current, chemical amount, and luminous intensity. With these measures,
So many
we can
scientific
describe
words.
our universe. Velocity is a combination of length and time, volume is length cubed, density is volume combined with mass. These measurements are the language
Ooh,
of the universe.
pretty.
So, let's a very simple one. Length. An inch is a standard unit of measurement for length in the imperial system. Let's imagine a scenario. You are designing a railing for a 1 mile long bridge. You, as
I
a
wouldn't-
skilled
I would not be doing. You do not want me designing anything that needs to hold people up, or anything that involves scientific measurements or anything scientific. You do not want me near.
and knowledgeable engineer know that 2 half-inch bolts are more than enough to secure the railing down. The posts of the railing are 6 feet apart. Alright, how many inches are there in a foot? 12? So that's 72 inches. Every 72 inches we need 2 bolts. Our bridge is 1 mile long. How many feet is that? I
What?
don't know off the top of my head, and a quick Google search tells me it's 5,280 feet.
I knew that.
What's 12 inches by 5,080? That's 63,360 inches. Divide that by 72, that's
I
880.
don't want to be doing this
So, we need to
math.
order 1,760 half-inch bolts.
I'm not. There's not a lot going on in my mind right now. I'm just
Why
kind
do
of
I
like.
need to remember all these numbers? Because imperial is a convoluted mess of measurement units invented by people who married their cousins. That's why. Now, let's see how much easier that is in metric. How many millimeters are there in a meter? It's in the name. Milli, 1,000. Now, how many meters are there in a kilometer? Once again, it's in the damn name, kilo, 1,000. Given a measurement in kilometers but want meters, Just shift the decimal place
See, I knew that. I knew that it had like multiples of 10.
over 3 places. No calculation needed. There is no room for error. It's a simply better
Oh yes, there is. If you don't know math.
system. Even within imperial, you have to constantly convert your units. Ounces to pounds, pounds to imperial tons, which for some reason differs from a metric ton by 1.6%. Again, in metric, there are 1,000 grams in a kilogram and 1,000 kilograms in a ton. In imperial, there are 16 ounces in a pound and 2,240 pounds in an imperial ton. Why? You aren't even following the same conversion conventions as your other units. This is insanely cumbersome. The chances of conversion errors even within your own damn system is high. Never mind having to convert to metric. You know what's even more insane? The word for mass and weight in the imperial system is the same. Why? Because the pound was invented before we knew what gravity was.
Dinosaurs!
That's why. We just assumed mass and weight were the same thing when they aren't. So we have to specify in imperial whether we mean pound of mass or pound force. I haven't been this confused since I watched Magic Mike. The most ridiculous thing about all of this, every single one of these imperial measurements are legally defined by the metric system. America is already using the metric system.
That's what I
and
said. We are. We do use it sometimes. So I don't get why we use both. For the most part, we use the imperial system, but we do use the metric system sometimes. I just don't know how to convert them back and forth between each other, which obviously that's kind of problematic. I don't know why. Well, I did at some point. Like we learned it in school, and then like everything else, you forget it after you take the test.
most of the population is oblivious to it. Freedom, America, guns,
America.
pew pew, oorah.
Pew.
The foot is legally defined as 0.3048 meters. The pound is legally defined by 0.435 kilograms. Why? Because the metric system is run by the International Bureau of Weights and Measures, a neutral international organization whose sole mission is to create a global language of science, who America is a member of. And they have succeeded in an awe-inspiring way. In 2019, the final metric base unit, the kilogram, stopped being defined by human artifacts and is now, like all other metric units, defined by the laws of physics. In 2019, it ceased being defined by this hunk of metal and began being defined by Planck's constant, which is defined as 6.626 by 10 to the minus 34
He can tell me this stuff and oh gosh, I'm never gonna remember any of this.
kilogram meter squared per second. Of course, to use this as a definition, we need ways to define the meter and second. The meter is defined as the length of the path traveled by light in a vacuum in 1 divided by
A vacuum cleaner?
299,792,458 of a second. Okay,
Small.
so how do we define a second? A second is defined by the hyperfine transition frequency, which is the frequency of radiation which will cause an electron to jump from two closely
Lasers.
spaced low energy states in a cesium-133 atom. Each of the base units are defined like this, using the unchanging language of the universe as its yardstick, or should I say, meter stick. It's a beautiful and inspiring language that transcends the realm of humans, and for that reason alone, you should strive to use the metric system. Understanding the language of the universe is a
Okay, but like if I just start using the metric system, everyone that I know is gonna be like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, it's kind of hard if we just were to, I do admit that the metric system is obviously better, but I can't just start using it and then like everyone else around me is gonna be using the imperial system. Like that would be kind of problematic. Obviously, maybe it would need to start with science. Like why don't we just use the metric system all the time for scientific stuff, and then maybe it'll catch on with the rest of the country.
As always, thanks for watching.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't try to change it. Obviously, it would be difficult. I mean, it would be worth it. I be like from a scientific perspective, but then obviously for like scientific journals and then like everything that's been like written before now, if we were to switch, then like you would still have to convert everything from that. But I mean, since we like literally already use the metric system at least a little bit, why not just use it completely because the rest of the world is using it? And then there wouldn't be like a confusion with temperature, Celsius and Fahrenheit and stuff, because we're also we're taught that here. They teach us how to convert them, and I don't remember how to do it. I mean, I can make a rough guess, but because I mean, like, if we go to a different country, or most countries aren't gonna have Fahrenheit, so like that's just kind of, that sucks for us, you know, like, but like if someone from another country would come here, it's just like we're just one country that, you know, you would have to do that in. I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. And like, even though I've been using the imperial system my whole life, is like I don't remember all of the, you know, I don't remember how many millimeters are in a centimeter. I mean, I don't know when I would need to know that, but metric system's easier. End of discussion. All right, you got us there. But yeah, thanks for watching.